And welcome to Down the Alley. This is Ted T.S. Spirides.
And Katie,
And I think PMAX on his way. We're getting started right now. Um, we're mid-May now.
yeah,
A couple weeks left of the regular season. The fireworks have continued. PMAC is joining right now. And it's been a crazy another crazy week. A lot to talk about. Um, Katie, what's going on?
I think we've hit not like I don't think we've hit a mid season slump, but I mean it's jam packed full, and like now I feel like is starting like family, personal, like social things. Like you got Mother's Day coming up, you've got Saturday games where that's going to take up time, and Mother's Day this weekend, and then I feel like it's you get a weekend and then it's Memorial Day and
Mhm.
everyone's going to want to be picnicking, and then like grad parties are going to start. You guys go to a tournament, so
Yep.
it's like the season's kind of been off and running, but at the same time now I feel like we're adding all this like life, personal, holidays, event stuff. I mean, we're going to start having um like
Distractions.
Yep.
they really
Watch out for
are.
prom.
And
I'm
They
glad
really
I'm
are. We
glad
already
PL
knew
got
prom's
prom out
over.
of the way already.
Yep.
Prom week gone.
and
See ya.
welcome to
Yeah.
welcome PMAC to the show. A couple minutes late, but not too bad. Katie's got a hard stop here, so we got started. But PMAC, how are things going with you?
I got no hard stop today. I can be on all day. We can just be on the pod all day if we want to. No, I'm good. Uh Excited to podcast. Excited to see where this topic goes. I'm hearing a lot of distractions in the lacrosse season in May, which is, hey, I'm going to add one. Lakes are probably starting to open up. Um, Lake season.
The weather,
Uh,
the weather.
yeah.
Yep. Um,
So
as always, this episode is brought to you by the lovely people at Old Southern Barbecue. Um, Speaking of Mother's Day, Katie, you brought up a Mother's Day and grad parties and outdoors and nice
I
weather.
did.
Uh, Good time to go online and get your sauces, seasonings, merch, anything you need for your kind of your outdoor cooking season. Uh, DTA 15, get 15% off your order. Um, and they also, we talked about it last week, dropped a new sauce, and they sent us over a couple trial bottles here. I have had it in store. It's really good. I'm sure PMAC and Katie, you guys will get into it. Maybe you already have.
I have not gotten into it.
It's
I'm
sitting
looking,
on our counter, still sealed.
Perfect.
still sealed. I'm going to dive in and do a review on Sunday, a Mother's Day review of their new sauce. I'm doing a little at home barbecue cooking this weekend for Mother's Day. So I'm going to do a review on Mother's Day. Ted, what's the scouting report going into the sauce since you've had it?
I think I kind of talked about it a little bit last week. I think maybe it was after you had dropped off the podcast, but it is, and again, I'm gonna preface this as like this is not like I don't want people to take this as a negative. It kind of reminds me of like an Arby's sauce. It's like more of a tangy, like it doesn't to me, it doesn't maybe fit the category of like a true barbecue sauce, in my opinion. It's more of like a sauce, but it's not super sweet and molassesy and thick. It's like it's just a different vibe. I really like it. It's kind of more my style personally. But I again,
It's
Is it a thin sauce? Because I know you like thin sauces and thin salsas, and so is
sauce.
it
It's a thin sauce.
a thin sauce?
Uh,
Okay.
Got a little kick.
I yeah, I love like a vinegary base, and I think if you're into barbecue, that's a more like Carolina style barbecue, and the thicker, sweeter, dark molassesy barbecue is in like a Texas barbecue sauce. I'll pick that like thin sauce, vinegary, kind of reddish orange sauce any day.
That
There's a good Netflix show. I think it's gosh dang, it's this chef who goes around and like kind of finds origins and stuff. I'll have to figure out what's that called. Jason Chang, I think is his name. And he kind of like deep dives into like there's Korean street food. He does a barbecue one and he goes deep into like the origins of barbecue and even like interviews like a historical person. Very interesting. Great show because he's super funny. He is the chef that owns Momofuku, which is like a noodle bar, really famous in New York. There's one in Las Vegas that I have not hit up yet. And try to find it on Netflix if you're interested in like barbecue sauce and flavors because it's really interesting and it'll kind of open your eyes to what we're talking about if you don't know. But it is a thin sauce. It is a little tangy, but it's like a kick. It's like spicy, but it's like maybe cayenne.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to like jalapeno, if you know that flavor. Obviously, no jalapenos in barbecue sauce, but
yeah, no. So, scouting report, you know, it's they're on my big board. The Jimmy's original sauce is on my big board. It's a top prospect. Like what I've had so far. But interested to hear what you guys think. Last week we was week of fireworks. That was kind of the theme. I think the fireworks show has just continued on. This is an all-night fireworks show. This is a 2-day event. July 3rd, 4th, and 3-day event, and 5th. It seems like every night we are texting each other or seeing something of like a score that we were really not expecting. And that's a testament to, I think, the rise of a lot of programs, the depth of a lot of talent in the state. There isn't just, at least on the boys' side, maybe you could say South for the girls are kind of a clear-cut number one above everybody. But on the boys' side, it kind of feels like any given night, anybody can go down. And, but we'll start on the girls. And I'll just start this one because, I put my reputation on the line for the Stillwater Ponies last week, and it didn't even last 6 hours before I think we dropped the pod kind of late afternoon. And by 9 p.m. last Friday, the White Bear Lake Bears take down the Stillwater girls 8-6. This is why I don't bet on sports, because I'm clueless. And
You were saying this squad, you could make the argument being number one. I kind of shot back at you.
yep,
And White Bear Lake must have been listening last week because they were like, "Yeah, Ted, no, we're gonna take them down and remove any doubt."
yeah. So, huge win for the Bears. I don't think this takes. I don't think this buries Stillwater and maybe might actually benefit them going forward. But nonetheless, I will eat crow here. White Bear Lake 8-6 over Stillwater. Stillwater had 6 goal scorers, 1 goal scorers, but White Bear Lake got 4 from Bev Peterson and 2 from Jada Jensen. So their big guns stepped up in this game, and just a really nice win. And I think White Bear Lake they were on our radar early and then kind of had a little bit of a slow start to the season, but obviously they're capable of beating top teams, and they're someone not to sleep on in sections. And these two teams are in the same section, so there might be a rematch depending on how things shake out. And then Eden Prairie 11-8 over Chanhassen. Close game as expected, two rivals in the same section. And then I think on Friday, the most interesting score to me was Minnetonka 14, Buffalo 13. Not so much that it was that Minnetonka won, but it was closer and more higher scoring than maybe I expected. Katie, any thoughts on those three games or PMAC too?
Yeah, I think the Stillwater White Bear Lake, I kind of thought Stillwater would be like out of the race. But I think for me, the Stillwater, the White Bear Lake win over Stillwater tells me more about Cretin-Durham Hall
Mm,
because Cretin-Durham Hall beat them. And I kind of thought, I didn't really, I mean, I gave that game some attention, but later in the week, we'll find Cretin-Durham Hall on the schedule. And that honestly, as I kind of looking at these scores, I get the same feeling about Eden Prairie. Eden Prairie beating Chan makes me kind of pick Eden Prairie off the back burner a little bit.
yeah.
I wasn't ever underestimating them by any means. Prior Lake plays them on Saturday, but the fact that now, like, they were just kind of like coasting. I mean that in the best way. Maybe they didn't have the toughest schedule, which is why we didn't really like, maybe why they didn't pick out or like stick out in my head. But I feel the same way about White Bear Lake and Eden Prairie now. And the fact that they beat these teams that I thought maybe would probably beat them. I thought it'd be the reverse. So
And
that's interesting. And I wish I had more to note about the Minnetonka Buffalo game.
yeah,
Um,
I will say you made a great point about Cretan, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they did bump into the top 10 this week.
right.
And so they're kind of slowly also coming off the back burner a little bit. And I will say they lost to Stillwater, but it was a pretty competitive game. So definitely another thing to watch um, going forward. Um, Nothing really of note on Saturday. Um, Monday. So Monday, Katie, CDH, this is kind of where maybe things are starting to look interesting.
Right.
Benilde 11, CDH 8. Not surprised Benilde won, but it was closer than maybe some people expected, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know either. I guess I didn't really give it much thought now that I think about it. Um, yeah, I mean, so what I was referencing is like they beat White Bear Lake, Cretin Hall beat White Bear Lake on April 17th, 17-7. Then they lose to Stillwater 10-7. And now they lose to Benilde 8-11. So like they're battling with these like top teams that I think that gives them maybe a little bit of a bump. I don't remember what they were ranked at last week, but that's those are good losses, as we say. Like those are competitive games. They're in the race, and I think that's kind of raising my eyebrows a little bit more, and I'm going to start watching them a little bit. I mean, obviously, I think Jordan scored 100 goals. Um, so when you and Sophia Watts is really good too. That it's like, well, when you've got them on your team scoring, I think you're going to score a lot of goals and stick with these teams.
Yeah, and the White Bear Lake Stillwater game was pretty low scoring. I know they're section competitors, so maybe the coaches on both teams were holding some things back and just kind of saying, you know, we're not gonna show all our cards here, because there could be a game that we have to play later in the year. I'm not sure, how other coaches look at that. I know that's always in the back of my mind to be like, you know, yeah, you want to win every game. It's really big. It's fun to be in the rankings, but you know, there's a bigger picture, and there's only so many things you can add into a high school team, where it's like, if you got some new wrinkles, do you want to throw them all out there right away? So definitely interested in that. And then Cretan, kind of slowly moving up the ranks. They're battling with top teams. They're in the top 10 now, so they're a team to watch, I think. And then moving on to Tuesday, Eden Prairie 15, Minnetonka 10. Um, and that's a nice win for Eden Prairie. Minnetonka has been in the top 5, I feel like, all year. And Katie, like you said, Eden Prairie now slowly just chipping away after that first game loss to Orono. They've just been slowly winning games and kind of flying under the radar. I think They might be somewhere in the top 6 or 7 teams, maybe even top 5 now at this point.
Weren't they bumped out of the top 10?
They were after that loss to
I
Oregon.
mean, if they beat Prior Lake on Saturday, that could they could be like the
Are they a
number.
number one? Are they a
I
potential
mean,
number
no,
one?
because they haven't played Lakeville South, I don't think. Lakeville South will still take that one spot. I think Benilde has shown they can still be two. I mean, that's what I did for the boys, like in my opinion, in my opinion, then you get bumped out. Like
Yeah.
if EP wins, put that on the poster board. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it makes the Eden Prairie Prior Lake girls game. Wait, it's tomorrow.
yeah, way more interesting.
Yeah, it does make that game extremely interesting. And we'll talk about, upcoming games here in a minute. Also on Tuesday, Jefferson and Chan. Chan wins 10-8. Doesn't look like stats have been entered, at least at the time of these notes. Good win for Chanhassen. They maybe are kind of in I don't want to say a rebuild year, but maybe not as dominant as they have been. But that's a big conference win. Jefferson's been kind of on the rise on the girls' side as well. So, nice win there for Chan. Wednesday, the 8th, uh, really interesting score here. Now we've been talking about CDH and how that, all these things. Well, Eastridge, don't forget about us, a team that has played Lakeville South to their closest game I feel like at this point. Um,
Yeah.
Eastridge wins 14-12. Um, so
I think
start
2 goal games. So Eastridge 14, CDH 12. Jefferson 8, Chan 10. Even CDH 8, BSM 11. Those are like, play them again and you never know what happens.
yeah. No,
I think that's like, I mean, I don't think you can rest on that laurel later in the season if you play them being like that's how I feel like with Prior Lake and Stillwater. I'm like, if we see them again this year, we can't just go in being like, oh, we won, no big deal. Those are too close, in my opinion, for any sort of like, maybe it gives you a little confidence bump, but you got to go back to the drawing board and like
yeah. Yeah.
have good practices before you play that team again.
Definitely competitive games that I feel like at any point anybody can win and it makes it fun coming down the wire here. On Thursday or last night, basically, kind of as expected, Maple Grove over Chan 11-6. Nice win for them. Eden Prairie 14-10 over Edina. Minnetonka 10-6 over Hopkins. I guess I would consider the favorites in that situation to win. Um, any other games, maybe not non-top 10 games that jump out to you, before we kind of move forward to the next part.
Let me just scroll through here. The last night, I didn't really look late enough last night. I think again the EP Edina match is making Prior Lake EP way more interesting, and I think I was really high on Edina, and now I think I'm maybe not as high. I think they'd still be a top 10 team for sure. I think Rosemount has kind of been slept on a little bit. They play Lakeville South this week,
Mm.
but I think they beat Bloomington Jefferson 2 goals only, and they beat Edina by a goal. And I'm starting to think maybe that they were kind of not like slept on, but they don't have like the easiest schedule. They have the schedule that a South Suburban Conference team would have. They play Andover 11-8, good game.
Mhm.
So I think they're someone that maybe this last half of the season, I'm going to maybe kind of start looking a little closer at their scores. But
Sure.
I slept on them a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Looking ahead on the girls' side, I know that sometimes we do boys recap first, but Katie, I know you have to leave So we'll just stick with the girls tonight. Interesting game for me, mainly just because of the travel. Buffalo girls heading up to play Moorhead tonight. That'll be a fun matchup of teams. Any thoughts on any of these other games tonight? I think Eastridge and Park is
Yeah,
probably
I was gonna say that one.
that's probably the biggest matchup as far as like top end teams going at it.
Yeah.
Park has notably been strong defensively. Eastridge has a couple great goal scorers and has had some nice wins. Any thoughts there on that game?
Yeah, I was gonna say Park Cottage Grove. They beat White Bear Lake 9-4. They lost to Stillwater, but I think tonight, let's click into Eastridge. I mean, that's a notable loss. Eastridge beats Cretin-Durham Hall. So it's like these teams now we can kind of play that little bit of a puzzle. Like you said, they held Lakeville South to their least goal differential of the season, 8-11. Um, and they beat, Eastridge just beat Cretin-Durham Hall. So it's like who beats who.
Yep.
I feel like this is like an SAT question of like if the like we got to map it all out. There's missing pieces in the square of teams playing these like triad of who beat who, hierarchies. And I think that one's going to be a really interesting outcome. I'll say that. Like, I think if whatever team wins, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I like this Woodbury Stillwater girls game. I was super high on Woodbury going into the season. They've been kind of a little bit up and down. They're closer to 500. I think this is a big one for Woodbury. I think this is a big test. Is Woodbury can they take that next step here in May?
Sure, for sure. And I will say, as we move into Saturday, uh, looking at the games on Saturday, Prior Lake, Eden Prairie, we talked about that. Um, I Yeah, this game became a lot more interesting, just kind of where we knew Prior Lake was good, is good. Um, but now Eden Prairie kind of looking like they can run with the best. Um, this becomes a much more interesting game, but I'll let Katie talk about that in a second. I want to look down one more here. Lakeville South, Stillwater. So now you got a situation on Friday tonight where Stillwater's playing Woodbury, and they're staring at the Giants for tomorrow.
Oh, trap game. Do we have a trap game?
That's a tough back to back. And I'm not saying they overlook Woodbury, but it is hard. It again, distractions. We're talking about distractions. To have to play a back to back and play your tougher matchup on the second half of a back to back. How is that going to impact? How is that going to impact Stillwater? And ponies. Why don't you just go in and beat Lakeville South just so I can get back on track here, get my reputation back on track? Why don't you just go 2-0 this weekend, get the DTA bump, and just send more fireworks? Let's mess up the rankings. We've been doing it on the boys' side. Let's mess up the rankings on the girls' side. So ponies, a 2-0 weekend would be really fantastic for me personally. And I know that's why you play, just to satisfy my podcasting reputation.
This brings up two storylines quick. That's not just girls. This is kind of an overlap. Back to backs is one of them. I feel like there's been more back to backs maybe this year. I feel like we've been paying attention. We had one this year. I don't remember having one in the last couple of years, as I haven't been coaching forever. I don't remember having a ton as a player either.
Yeah.
It seems like there's more back to backs this year. Is that just a scheduling random thing, or
I have noticed that we haven't had one personally, but maybe it's officials or official availability, field availability. There has been a very um strong trend of if there is a game being played, rain and wind and sleet and lightning is probably happening. So
Yeah,
maybe some of these have been like reschedules to
for
be like,
sure.
all right, we have games like, 3 games a week, 2 games a week. We have to put it somewhere, and you're kind of at this point basically doing a back to back if you plug in a game to a practice day. And so
And
maybe
I think somebody asked me, they're like, "Oh, why are you playing back to back? What was it, Jefferson, Eden Prairie?"
Yeah, it was.
And I was like, "Oh, we just like to start the season a month late and then play our games back to back, so then we get them all done." Obviously that was sarcasm, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was an interesting thing. Second storyline, and two of them here are on Saturday, I believe, if I'm looking at it correct. On the girls' side, remaining undefeated teams, you got Lakeville South. They're putting their undefeated record on the line. Stillwater, obviously coming to town. Well, Lakeville South is coming to town, and Stillwater's hoping to mess that up. Southwest Christian is playing Coon Rapids. They're undefeated. Champlain Park, they're playing on, looks like, Monday against Elk River, and then Chisago Lakes looks like they're playing Anoka, actually. So that's three of them. We got three undefeated records on the line this weekend. And I think I said this even a week ago. It seemed like there's so many undefeated teams. Obviously, some teams have lost that. We still have a few though on the girls' side here. Do you think we get some spoilers, or do you think these teams are going to stay undefeated going into next week?
I'd love some spoilers. I'd absolutely love. We've got beautiful weather coming up, a lot of distractions, but beautiful weather. So you can't blame a rain game or anything like that. And I'm really hoping for some upsets.
yeah, I
Maybe not the EPPL one if that's technically an upset, but I like the Stillwater Lakeville South matchup.
I
Hey, and talk about Moorhead back to back. They'll be playing visitation, so I think Buffalo goes to them on Friday. Is that what we said? And then they come down and play visitation on Saturday. So Moorhead getting the sky miles in, as we say.
Yeah, and so these undefeated teams, Lakeville South, not an easy game against Stillwater. They're probably favored. I would assume they are, but Stillwater is probably motivated after last week. I think I think the upset alert for me is Champlain Park versus Elk River Zimmerman. I feel
Also undefeated.
Yeah, so
Correct.
um that would be the one where I feel like it could be. I would say again, Champlain Park's probably favored based on them being undefeated. They have a really good team. Elk River Zimmerman kind of maybe didn't have a quick start, but they've been competitive with a lot of teams this year, and are very capable of winning a big game like this. So I would say that would be a game to watch. Um, Southwest Christian, I don't think they will. Um, I think they'll handle Coon Rapids. I think Chisago will handle Anoka. Um,
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Ted. I'm looking at Elk River Zimmerman. Sure, they got two losses. Total of 2 goals. They're 2 goals away. They
yeah,
are 2 goals away. I think I would agree with you. This could be where the upset alert is. Elk River Zimmerman has fallen off the radar, maybe because they have lost. Well, we're saying Tonka's legit, right? On the girls' side,
yeah,
they lost to them by
Yeah.
1. Maple Grove, they've definitely been in conversations.
and
Lost to them by 1.
yeah.
Um, so, Ted, I like where you went with this. Elk River, Zimmerman, that is the DTA upset, ruin a perfect record season alert.
And to the flip side for Champlain Park, I think they're getting snubbed a little bit with their undefeated record, kind of getting pushed down the top 10. This could be a statement game for them. They go in and take care of business and do it handsomely, um, and convincingly. I I think then they have an argument to say like, hey, like, yeah, we might be the new face on the top 10 board, but like, you know, a little bit of respect here. Don't just be pushing people above us for just based on the name that's on the jersey. And so interesting game for them. I think that game is what, on the 11th,
Yeah, 13th.
13th. Okay, so Monday. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So, any other games later in the week as we go?
Well, one on Monday, Chan Cretan.
Okay,
That's gonna kind of more fireworks gonna come across, I think.
yep.
Notable on the Tuesday, the 14th, there are 23 games.
Holy crap. You're right.
That's the most out of the entire season if I'm just scrolling through Relaxov. Oh, I guess Thursday the 23rd. So like we are getting it's a whole page of games.
Yep.
So get out there, go root on some people, get the cameras out. I think looking at notable games, Edina Minnetonka, I think is going to be a very interesting score and outcome. Any other ones for you guys?
Yeah, I'm looking at it here.
Ooh, Andover and Wyzetta maybe
Yep.
might be
I like that
that
game.
one's kind of interesting.
Um, I like the Moorhead St. Michael Albertville. That's a section game that will have section seating implications, so that'll be interesting. Lakeville South Rosemount, I think, is the most notable game from like a top 10 perspective. Um,
Especially if Rosemount pulls out a win here on what did I say, Saturday?
yeah. Um, yeah, I think those are some of the notable games. Moving on to Wednesday next week, a lighter night, 12 games. Anything stick out to you? I think Park and Cretan, that's going to
Yep.
be another good game. And White Bear,
White Bear Lake Eastridge. Yeah.
a lot of these teams have all, like you said, Katie, have all been kind of beating up on each other. Like,
Right.
one thing with Stillwater, when I looked at them after that White Bear Lake loss, I'm like, all right, they have to be pushed down the top 10. But then I'm like, well, we'll put Eastridge above them. No, Stillwater beat them. So Stillwater has head-to-head wins against all these other top 10 teams, but then has the weird loss.
Right.
So this White Bear Lake Eastridge team, I think if White Bear can win that game, they start to get in the conversation now of
Very true.
caliber. So, and Eastridge, I think if they win this game, you can say White Bear Lake quality win, a team that beat a top 5 team. So interesting how things are shaking out. And Wednesday's got some nice East Side matchups.
Yeah,
And then
there's just games all over the city.
Thursday, not 23 games, but 22 games on the schedule.
Yeah, I know.
Officials are getting a workout Tuesday, Thursday this upcoming week. Um, I'm interested in Edina Hopkins. I think Hopkins
Yeah.
the radar this year. They've had some nice wins. Edina maybe isn't as powerful as they were last year, but I wouldn't count them out either. A strong program. There's talent on that team. A winning tradition. So that'll be interesting. Minnetonka Orono. That's a top 10 matchup.
I missed that one. I completely missed that one right here.
That could be
Yeah, that'll be.
fair. A lot of offense in that game. So if you like offense, I go watch that Minnetonka Orono game.
Who do
Uh,
you got on that one? That's gonna shake up the rankings.
I'm taking Orono. I
Or no.
You are. Wow.
so again, hey, bulletin board material for the skippers. We're all high on Orono. It would not surprise me if Minnetonka just goes in and dominates that game just to screw everything up like it's always been, and make us look like idiots. So that's going to be a fun one. Man, there's just so many games here.
Yeah, Holy Angels Viz is a big rivalry.
Okay.
They play each other twice in that conference, so shout out to Alexa. I thought they played them the other day, but I guess that was tonight sorry, this week.
Yeah, South Suburban's got some big matchups. I'll start with Farmington, Lakeville North. Maybe two teams that aren't like what you would consider like top 10 teams, but section rivals and conference rivals. So there could be some section seeding implications on this game. Um,
Yep.
and then Prior Lake Rosemount, I think this one is obviously always a tough contested game. Two teams that know each other well, two coaching staffs that know each other well. Um, I think there's section seating implications, there's conference implications, there's history. Um, this could be a really fun game. And for Prior Lake, I think it solidifies if they win this one, it kind of solidifies their spot in the rankings. But for Rosemount, it's a great
Right.
opportunity to kind of say, hey, look at us. Um, very interesting game there as well. So
It
lot
is also do the boys play Rosemount that night too?
I would assume so.
We don't know. It is our mental health night too, which is always really fun.
Yeah, I'm talking
You're
next
right.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
teams that know each other well, we coaching staffs that know each other well. Talk about coaching staffs that know each other well. Farmington and Lakeville North head coaches are sisters. So
Oh,
they'll have their battle together, kind of, a good photo opportunity there. But yeah, I think, and then the Apple
Are
Valley
they going to
Eastview,
exchange jerseys?
and maybe Apple Valley Eastview is also, that'll be interesting just from, sorry, Eastview Egan, conference situation,
yeah.
right? They're in the same conference. I would assume they're the same school district.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of like border battles, I feel like, right
we
at
are
the end of the day on Thursday.
we are getting into rivalry week. I feel like it's getting to that point where it's all conference section implications, border battles, school district battles, inner city battles. Um,
Even Minnetonka or no.
Before we bump over to the boys, I'm just going to bring this is a good segue into because this applies to both boys and girls lacrosse. We have all these like rivalry border battles. Why don't we need trophies? We need trophy games in
Agreed.
lacrosse. Like, is that a that's
Egan has one with Rosemount called the Clover Cat.
okay? Yeah. So
They did at least, but now it's Eastview Egan. So I don't know if they have
I feel
that,
like
but yeah, we need to have some sort of like trophy. You guys don't have any with like Lakeville North or
no.
South?
I feel like Rosemount would be one. Uh, that's kind of a border battle for Farmington. Rosemount would be one that would be a fun, a fun border battle, like rivalry trophy. Um, yeah, like if anybody wants to have a rivalry game with Farmington, like
Yeah.
please just text me and we can come up with it. I'm not going to speak for other coaches. Maybe they don't want that distraction, but we love distractions at Farmington. So we love hyping things up. So um,
Also, before we get to the boys, I personally, I'm out, I'm out in the streets. I'm talking to DTA Nation. DTA Nation wants more kind of off the field chatter about topics that
They
the fans
do?
that the fans want. I know Katie has been pushing this. Maybe Ted wants to stick between the lines. So I'm gonna mediate. And
I've
I'm
been
gonna
pushing what? I've been pushing.
You've been pushing, and Katie, the people love this. The people love the planner talk. The people love
They do not.
I will say,
where do you think this is coming from? Do you think I'm just coming? Do you think I want to
Yeah,
talk
I
about
do.
your planners?
No, I don't. I
No,
think
I
you're just
don't. So no, I'm not just bringing this to the table because I out of thin air. No, I'm out there doing podcast research, talking to DTA Nation, talking to the fans, and so I'm bringing things that they want to the table. I'm in the Discord right now asking for
oh yeah, the
topics.
Discord.
Ted, what do you
Yeah.
have? Sorry.
I was just saying, like most of the time, you're correct, PMAC, because after every episode, nobody ever asks me about a lacrosse take. It's always about a food or something else random. That's where I get messages. Even like idiot takes like Stillwater is going to dominate the rest of the way, and then they lose that. Didn't hear about it from anybody except
Even the
the source. The source did
next source was even like, what?
the source did give me grief on that, but like most of the banter like post episode, I don't go back and listen, but people like, I can't believe you said that about hot dogs or whatever, and I'm or like
Or
salsa.
the bone-in pork butt.
Pork butt was another one.
You
What,
weren't on that
who said what
episode,
about the
PMAC.
bone and pork butt?
I can't
We
remember.
got, I guess he got so many comments because it was an episode you weren't on, and we talked for 10 minutes about a bone-in pork butt.
The bone in, but that's the way to cook it. Like if
It really,
you
and you
cook
only
it
can get
right,
them at
it just
Sam's.
slides right out clean,
Yeah,
clean.
yeah.
But anyway,
Um, Anyway, back to the topic of being off topic. I went to the Discord like literally a few minutes ago. What's the topic of the week? What are people talking about? People are talking about brats this week. So Katie, I know you got a hard stop. If you don't like this topic, if you need to go, you can
did
go.
this on purpose because I hate brats.
No, I didn't do this on purpose. I'm literally
You literally know I hate chicken. I hate
I didn't
bone-in
ask
chicken
I
wings,
didn't
and I
ask
hate
DTA
brats.
Nation about brats. I asked DTA Nation what's going on. I'm
I
on the
have strong
mic.
feelings. I have strong feelings
Okay, so hold on.
about brats.
There's a few things that we need to talk about brats this week. There's more than one thing. Sources are saying there was a situation at the Stillwater BSM game, unconfirmed. 8 brats were burned beyond recognition. So I think
Goltz would be pissed.
I think there was a situation with some brats at the Stillwater BSM game. According to sources, Stillwater representatives have no comment. And I have not heard from Goltz. He's probably in the middle of a class right now. So I don't know how their buns are. Somebody asked about their buns. So but appropriate brat toppings or brat toppings ranked. So, and I also got a personal text. I won't name their name because if they would have, if they wanted their name public on this topic, I think they would have been in the Discord saying what they're saying. Ketchup is borderline criminal on a brat, and then this source goes on to say that mustard, sautéed onions, or kraut is allowed. I would agree on the onions and kraut. Mustard is absolutely disgusting. I hate mustard. Mustard is jailable. Mustard is fraudulent. Mustard, you might as well just put people who eat mustard in the prisons with the drug lords and the money launderers and all the bad people. Mustard is absolutely disgusting.
Okay, it is. Well, for you don't like mustard. However, I like a customary food. So like ketchup, I agree, tastes better, but goes on hot dogs. Like that is traditionally how a hot dog is served. If you're in Chicago, I think there's a different way. They put the gardenia on it, whatever. A brat are usually pork, aren't they? Are brats like chicken or pork, whereas like a hot dog is more like a beef situation? So it's like
what's in a hot dog? You don't ask how the sausage is made. I feel like
no, I know,
with your
but I think
Oscar Mayer hot dog.
I love them. I bet a brat is like a lighter meat. So like you wouldn't dip your pork chop in ketchup or like your chicken breast in ketchup, but like you'd have toppings on it. Maybe you do mustard on pork for sure. Like a honey mustard pork is a very good combination. I hate brats. I'm just gonna say it flat out. I think I don't like them. I prefer a hot dog. I think the bun to ratio, the buns are always like stale and too large for the brat. I like kraut, I like mustard, so I like the toppings, but I would much prefer like exactly a Oscar Mayer or a Nathan's hot dog on a white bun from like Quick Trip with ketchup, ruffled potato chips, and baked beans on a summer day with a little like potato salad or like baked beans. That to me is like a meal of all meals on a hot day with like a pop or something like that. Like it just, to me, that just hits. Whereas brats don't give me the same excitement. It doesn't kind of make me think like 4th of July. What I actually think is that I think that is one of your favorite meals, is like grilling brats and grilling burgers and like whipping that up. And I think I've absolutely, like, it has destroyed me because that's your favorite thing to do. Would you agree? You love let's just cook up some brats and burgers. Oh, let's cook brats and burgers. And I can't stand it. I'd rather not eat than eat that.
Ted,
You could be the middle of winter.
Katie,
the middle of winter, and you're like, let's have burgers and brats, and I'm like, no, let's
Katie,
not.
great breakdown. You brought in some high level. You bring in a different IQ than I bring to the table, so we appreciate that. I need to hear.
And what are we having on Sunday for Mother's Day?
I need to hear Ted's thoughts on brats. We need to stay on topic.
Are you cooking burgers and brats on Sunday?
No, I'm making a pork butt.
Okay, that I like. See, that I like.
I really like brats personally. And PMAC, I'll have brats or burgers with you anytime you want. So if Katie doesn't want them and you need someone to have those with, I will have them with you.
I don't want them.
I personally like just mustard on mine, so I can get on board with the ketchup. I'm also on board with, eat your food however you want to eat it. But I think so. I don't know if Mitch listens to the podcast or not, but I think we're gonna fill up the Gatorade cooler for the Prior Lake sideline with mustard when we play you guys. So you guys kind of just, oh my gosh, it's all mustard. Or we could play for a rivalry trophy. It's not really. I wouldn't say it's like a rivalry. Maybe now it is because we both coach against each other. But we can play for a huge mustard bottle or something like that.
You can just have it. You just keep it.
On the game. You're throwing the game already. Yeah, there's some like really sensitive opinions around brat toppings. I didn't remember the eggs, salsa on eggs thing that blew up.
This might cause a civil war in DTA Nation.
And Goltz did jump in here and said
he did just jump in. Yep.
Brat buns aren't that bad. Nothing special, but nothing bad. Maybe a C average. So I'm not sure.
I think he has much stronger opinions on other areas of the Stillwater concessions, other food groups.
Yeah.
But shout out to Stillwater. This is something I like. I like when like a parent volunteer is like doing a little grill situation at a game. That I love. But we could just do hot dogs. Like, I like when they kind of like do a little cookout, fundraiser, senior night, parent appreciation. I don't know what it is. But I like when they wheel out this rusty grill top that's been there since the school
Funny you
was
say that,
built.
Katie. Funny you say that, Katie, because
I kind of like that because that's the Discord trying to do.
The Discord, literally, more sources are coming out, and allegedly,
I don't even have the Discord app, so this
I know
is
you
like
don't.
off the top of my head.
According to the Discord sources, as this person walked through the gate to the game, allegedly a lady frantically waved me down, and when I looked over, there was a raging brat fire, and this person went over to help us extinguish it. I guess there were several first responders about 100 feet away. They were talking about like first responder nights and whatnot. So allegedly there was a brat fire that the Stillwater concession people tried to wheel out, the cooker, and it didn't go well for them.
Because they probably never cleaned. They probably were like literally there since the beginning of time, the first very ever football cookout for the school. But I like that. See, I like the smell of grilling in the spring and all that. I just don't want a grilled brat. I just would rather have a hot dog
or a burger.
Not really. I don't really like
so you don't.
I like a hot dog. Like, what is wrong with a hot dog?
There's nothing.
They're cheaper.
You don't know what's in them. You don't know what they're made out of.
I don't care. They're tasty. You can have a bag of chips. You can have two of them. Brats are how I can barely finish a brat. Like, it's just, I like that though. I like the community aspect of like a cookout, but you need to have both. You need to have options.
Okay, I'll do my last take. I've already kind of said my piece on the toppings.
But you love brats.
I am a dipper into the ketchup. I'm a dipper. I don't like to like load up my hot dogs, burgers, whatever with
you don't
with
eat
sauce.
Hot dogs. You for sure eat brats though.
Anything. I like to dip it. I like to dip it in the sauce, the barbecue, the ketchup, not the mustard. I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't know if this is going to get DTA Nation boiling over. Katie was talking about the different proteins that a brat might be made out of. I like my brat shoved with a bunch of pepper jack cheese, jalapeno cheese, spicy cheese. So when I bite into it, it's squirting with cheese and things on the inside. Versus, I like a plain brat too, but I love a good. I don't know what you'd call it.
You
A
love when your
spicy.
mouth burns from scalding hot cheese.
Yes. So I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't know if people are going to be like, no, dude, you need the high IQ, Katie, traditional pork brat only,
No, you like the Von Hansen's special ones.
Yeah. Hey, everybody's got their things. The beauty of it is you can throw anything you want on a grill.
I love the hot links at Old Southern. I love those. So I don't know what it is about a brat. I don't know what it is about a brat. Because those are probably pork. Wouldn't we assume that?
I don't know.
No comment? Okay.
I don't know.
What was the other take?
What other take?
I think you said there was two
When?
topics to talk about before we talked about brats.
We talked about
brat buns and brat toppings.
Yeah.
Okay. You
Um,
love brats though. You might even make brats today.
Speaking of brats, if you hate brats, go to Old Southern Barbecue because they don't serve them there. And they
And the
are,
hot links are good.
as you know, yeah, they have hot links. So if you're more of a hot link person, they are the sponsor of this episode. And if you're more of a pork butt, brisket, rib person versus a burger brat hot dog person, you'll love Old Southern Barbecue. As we move on to the boys.
I will sign off, but let me just say the episode I was talking about is David Chang, Ugly Delicious, great show on Netflix. If you have Netflix or try to borrow someone else's till you get kicked off. Season 1, episode 5, barbecue. They also have a pizza one, season 1, episode 1. Great show.
David.
Go watch it. Yep. Ugly Delicious barbecue episode.
We will hear from a bunch of people about the Netflix recommendation. Katie, thank you for giving us your first hour here before you had to go on the girls. And we will catch you later. On to the boys. PMAC and I will kind of finish it out here. More fire.
Oh my goodness. Set the stage.
All right. The boys. Fireworks. Number ones going down. Not safe. I don't know what just happened to PMAC. He seemed either he was hyping up a return or something actually happened to him because I saw him on video. He looked pretty surprised, but this year has been crazy with the boys. Every week it seems like there's a new number one. Every week it seems like a new number one goes down. We have disagreement in the polls. We have crazy differences, disagreement in the polls. The coaches poll is different than the DTA poll. Lax numbers is even crazier. Number ones are not safe. Kind of looking back to last Friday.
Perfect place to start here, Ted. Whew, I ran upstairs. Sorry.
Is everything all right?
Everything's great. Last Friday, I got to pop out to Cloquet First Kennedy, baby. And Cloquet, first year program. Fire me up. We got new hats. We got new hats for DTA Nation. Ted, I know you got one. Katie got one. These hats are absolutely fire. Cloquet, I got to see them live last Friday versus Kennedy in my backyard. They were continuing their undefeated run that unfortunately ended later this week. But what a run. what a run for the first year program. They don't look like a first year program. They got some weapons. The boys were buzzing after the game. They were dabbing me up. Huge fans of DTA Nation. They are a part of DTA Nation, and we got hats. We're rooting them on the rest of the way. Go Jacks.
Jags. Yeah, no, that was great that you were able to get out there. Seems like they're very excited that they finally have the opportunity to play Minnesota High School League lacrosse. I know they've been kind of a club program now for a while, and finally had the opportunity to get sanctioned by their school with the co-op, Cloquet, Esco, and Carleton. Can't forget them. And PMAC, you did say to me, like, they don't look like a first year program. They're definitely capable, and they could be a team that again adds another program up there in the north part of the state as things continue to grow up there, which is great to see. The other kind of big game on Friday night, Maple Grove Chanhassen. Maple Grove wins 11-10 in overtime. So that has been a pretty competitive game the last couple of years. Two teams that have been in the top 10 this year, been out of the top 10. Obviously a competitive game. 11-10 Maple Grove wins. Saturday was a lighter day. I'm kind of looking through here. Nothing, I guess, stands out to me as like crazy, like unexpected. Um, Anything from you, PMAC, that you think it looks like it's pretty much business as usual on Saturday. A lighter day of games for sure.
Yeah, one or two games. Andover on the boys' side hasn't been a program we've talked a ton about. 6-2, very nice win over Owatonna, who you've played, who's made some noise, who has definitely been competitive and made some games interesting against some bigger boys. Andover, Owatonna, nice win.
Yeah, I do have to shout out Owatonna quick. It's since changed, but as of that game on Saturday, they were 0-5, and their scores were 10-11 loss, 10-11 loss, 8-12 loss, 8-11 loss, 10-11 loss. So like they had 3 1-goal games and then a 4 and a 3-goal game. And they finally on Tuesday they got a 1-goal win, and have since had another win. But man, that team, they are much better than a 2-5 record shows, and just have had some tough 1-goal losses. So shout out to them, and that's a good win for Andover. Owatonna is a good team, and like you said, Andover maybe hasn't had a ton of attention on the boys' side, but good win for them.
Blake squeaks out a close one against Providence Academy. That one might have been in overtime as well. I can't remember for sure. And then a surprising score, Eastview, Apple Valley over Northfield. Not surprised Eastview won. I am surprised about the margin that they won by. I've obviously we just played Eastview last night. I've seen Northfield play against Farmington. I just would have guessed this would have been closer. I could have maybe seen either team win. Obviously, I don't know. Eastview had a game here, and I just would have thought that would have been closer. So nice, a good win by Eastview there.
Yep, I agree. On to Monday, the 6th. That There was a handful of good games. I think the feature game was 1-2 or 1-3, Stillwater Benilde. But I want to talk about a game that I don't want to say it shocked me, but this was the game I was circling for a team. Rogers Maple Grove. Rogers is currently 9-0. You might say like their schedule hasn't been the toughest up until this point, although they did play Armstrong and beat them 10-9. But for me, Maple Grove, I was like, this is the team to beat for them. And they went in and they beat Maple Grove 12-11, and then followed it up on Wednesday with an 11-10 win to Blaine. The Rogers Royals sitting atop the Northwest Suburban Conference, 9-0. I was getting some DMs, some messages saying, "Hey, like we're for real this year." And I have to say, shout out to them. Unbelievable run thus far. And honestly, they could be 13-0 by the end of the regular season.
Yeah, huge shout out to Rogers Hockey School, right? Their hockey program is getting really good there, so it doesn't surprise me that lacrosse is maybe following that. Um, Also huge program win. Like they probably had this one marked on the calendar. I'm sure Maple Grove is a rival. Also, the head coach of Maple Grove used to coach Rogers for years. So good little redemption for the Royals. I'm into that.
Yep, very true. A lot of storylines. Obviously the biggest game I think in the public eye was Benilde playing Stillwater. Benilde wins 10-9 in overtime. Kind of a low scoring defensive battle for most of the game. And then I didn't see the game. Reports say it was 8-6 Benilde with about 2 minutes left, and Stillwater went high octane spread offense and decided to just win faceoffs, fast break, and ended up taking a 9-8 lead. So they scored 3 in the last 2 minutes. But Benilde answered with 30 seconds left or 20 seconds left to tie it and ended up winning in overtime. So Benilde escapes, knocks down the number one team according to DTA's poll. Big win for the Red Knights. Kind of, maybe it wasn't as it was maybe a little more stressful than it needed to be with that late run by Stillwater, but it sounds like both defenses played really well in this game up until, the last few minutes when things got crazy.
Huge shout out, New Prague beating Hudson by one. Hudson 3-3 in their Minnesota slate this spring. And New Prague, a squad I've been talking about. 5-2 this season, really, really respectable start, and a real nice win over Hudson, who's come across the border and played some teams. Yeah, I like what New Prague has done. They're beating who they're supposed to, and they had a close one against Lakeville South, who I said they're kind of comparable to in the first game of the season. So New Prague, keep tabs on them.
For sure. Tuesday night, a bunch of good games, honestly, on the schedule on Tuesday. Jefferson Chanhassen Metro West battle. Jefferson wins 9-6, so pretty close game there. I think that kind of locks up the Metro West for them unless something wild happens. I don't know. I haven't looked too deep into that. Looking Moorhead, a big win 9-3 over St. Cloud, but I do have to shout out in the Discord, someone said the goalie for St. Cloud in that game had 31 saves. 31
Wow.
Moorhead, and Moorhead still scored 9 goals. So he saw a lot of shots in that game, but stood tall and probably made that game closer than it should have been. So shout out to him. Let me get his name. I think it's Jonas something. Jonas Malmanger. So shout out to him. Great performance for the St. Cloud Crush. St. Thomas Academy beats Hill Murray 7-4, low scoring game. I think that locked up the Metro East title for them. I'll talk about the Farmington South game. It's 15-7. Farmington wins, but shout out to Lakeville South. PMAC, you talked about them early in the season. You said they are a team on the rise. They're much different. I have to concur with that. They have completely turned around kind of what we have seen in the last 2 years. So shout out to their coaching staff that stuck around there and started developing some of the younger players. I think they're a young team. I think they only have like 1 or 2 seniors. So
Yep.
they are much improved. I can tell personally that the culture has changed there. They were prepared. They were, there was a well scouted. They scouted us well. They were there and believed that they could compete. And honestly, they were up 2-1 at the end of the first quarter. So, um, I think I think our older end of players ended up kind of taking over in that game, but South is a different animal. I think they're going to be a much different team in the next few years.
Yeah, no, it's good to see another, team like Lakeville South, like, they're in our conference. They're getting better, they're getting older, they're doing it the right way. So, yeah, shout out to them.
Um, Minnetonka, Eden Prairie, late conference battle. Eden Prairie wins 8-7. Eden Prairie, and we'll talk about them a little bit more as we go. They're just slow, kind of like the girls' Eden Prairie team. There's been some weird maybe losses or games, but then they go and have a big win. Like it's just kind of like I'm unsure of what you've played them, so maybe you have more insight, but they're just a gritty team. Like that's all I can even like talk about is like they just find a way to just figure it out. Well
Yeah,
coached.
we haven't played Minnetonka, and I honestly haven't watched any film on Minnetonka yet. Eden Prairie, though, yeah, like you said, we played. I've scouted them. They've got a couple of really good pieces on offense. They got pieces on defense. They're solid at the faceoff X. They've got a little bit of everything, and I think they're putting it together. They're getting better week by week. So I think this is a team, and the Lake Conference in general, like there's just so much more parity this year across the state. So you can't sleep on anybody. Like maybe going into the Lake Conference this year, we thought one thing. I think we're gonna get a completely different thing, and I don't even know what it is. Like I don't know what it's gonna be. And then in terms of section play too, like Eden Prairie's, we welcomed them with open arms to our section. I think they're going to be a problem here in a couple of even more weeks of them getting things organized and continuing their development. So, yeah, Eden Prairie, they're a team that battles for 4 quarters. They've got a couple of issues for the other team's defensive coordinator on their offense. It's a team that I'm not looking forward to potentially playing in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think they could be a spoiler in sections. They might not get a super high seed, although with some of these recent wins, maybe they will. But I think I'm just looking at section 6 here from our preseason preview. We all three of us had Edina, Jefferson, and Prior Lake in our top somewhere in our top three, but our number 4 team in preseason was all different. But Katie had Eden Prairie at 4. So she was high on them preseason. Yeah, I think they're a spoiler in sections for somebody. And I agree with you. I would not want to have to even deal with them in section 6. Um,
Another team that I would label the exact same, a team that you're going to potentially have to deal with at some point in a couple of weeks. A similar team that's, closer to 500 than undefeated. Lakeville North. We got some ridiculous comments in the Discord about a sloppy game. We played them. We're at the same night. This is why I'm bringing up this team. We played them. It was a very clean game. There was what did I say? 30 turnovers total. Some games have 30 turnovers in a quarter. Lakeville North, very good team. It was a 12-9. We came out on the right side of it this time, but Lakeville North is a team I would love to avoid the rest of the season if possible.
it's another.
For luck, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know if we were talking about this or if it was you that said it to me like off the record, but it's like that's a team that could be 500 and then win state. Like go
Yeah.
on. They obviously have insane high end playmakers. Maybe don't have the depth they did last year, so maybe that's why we're seeing maybe a little bit more competitive games with some teams this year with the lack of depth. But when you have the high end talent that you do, if those guys are on and they decide that it's time, it's miserable to deal with as an opposing team. And I agree with you. I didn't see the game, but yeah, I mean, it's just they're just a team that any point could pop off, and they've scheduled about as hard as you can schedule this year. So it
Yeah.
surprised me that they're not like 9-0 or whatever. Like when you're the state champs, like you can pretty much get any game you want. I feel like, you can go and say, hey, I want to play the best teams, and I respect them for doing that. And
Well, and you're everyone's Super Bowl, right? So you're getting everyone's best game. You're getting right. Everyone's gonna scout you extra. Everyone's gonna look into all right. What are they gonna be running? What are they gonna be doing? So they're probably learning how to handle that. Um,
and
not saying that they didn't have to before, but you win a state championship, people are gonna look at all right. What are they doing?
yeah, and like from a coach's perspective, I agree with you, but correct me if I'm wrong. Does it feel like the public in general is kind of like forgets that they were state champs last year? Like if Prior Lake or Benilde would have won the state tournament, it would just be like they're the greatest team of all time, blah 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 blah. Like oh, they lost because they played bad. But like Lakeville North is the defending state champs until proven otherwise. They're the state champs. So it's like
Right.
because they lost
I
in overtime doesn't mean, like I don't know. I feel like there's way too many people not like looking at North, and like that might play into their advantage, honestly.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just stuck in my little shell of a world where I'm like, yeah, Lakeville North is dirty. Um, and in a good way. I don't want to be misquoted on that. Like, really good. They have the best Fogo. They have a good lefty goalie. They've got a really nice LSM. They've got, I don't know, two twins at attack that, play mind games with each other, and they're like the Sedin sisters. Like they just know what they're doing interactively. Like they're like talking to each other like through their, minds. Like, do you want to deal with that? I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, no doubt. But nonetheless, really nice win for Prior Lake. It looks like you guys handled your business. You were able to slow down that high-powered offense. You were able to get to 12. I think that's a goal for any team offense is get to 12. And you have a good chance of winning. Um, and then Wayzata, St. Michael, Albertville, 9-8 Wayzata wins. So good win by them. Nice competitive game by St. Michael, Albertville. So again, Lake Conference. Really tough this year. Every game,
Everyone's beating everyone.
everyone. Moving on to the 8th, Wednesday, a light day with only 9 games. Eastridge Cretan was probably the biggest game of the night. Eastridge winning 13-7. So that is a nice win for Eastridge for section seeding implications. Cretan hanging around. Another team that might not get a high seed in sections, but not a team I would want to play. They have a lot of athletes. They have a lot of hockey players that are also play lacrosse and they just play like a hockey team sometimes. They're just gritty. They're tough on ground balls. They make plays. So but again, nice win for Eastridge in a kind of a section game for seeding purposes. And then Thursday, a big heavy night.
Sorry, on Wednesday, a couple of things. I was talking to sources yesterday. The Bloomington Kennedy versus Minneapolis game. We had a goalie goal. Out of Kennedy. Jack Badovnik with a goalie goal. So that was cool to hear. I haven't seen the video, pop up yet, but a couple of goalie goals this year. I don't know if
It's a Jefferson Bloomington goalie goal and a Kennedy Bloomington goalie.
yeah.
They must-
And then Trimac with a 1-goal win over Blake. Trimac putting together a 6-1 record here, kind of under the radar. A quiet, really good record. Big comeback win for Trimac is what I'm hearing out of that one. I think Blake had the lead early. kind of going into maybe the second half, maybe even fourth quarter, and then Trimac kind of marched back with a nice win, getting them to 6-1.
Nice. That's a nice record. And then they're also in section 3 with Cretan and Eastridge, who we talked about. So they're going to be an interesting game kind of in sections as well. Thursday, last night, 22 games on the schedule. So a very busy night. Um, I'll just kind of go down the list here. Um, Eden Prairie, 13, Edina 12, Lake Conference Pan-De-Monium. Once again, I would have not expected that. But again, once again, Eden Prairie, they just seem to find a way. They find a way to keep it a game. They find a way to win. It might not look pretty. It might not be, they might not have all the superstar stats and have these high-end guys all over the field, but they're a great team, and that's a huge win for them. Huge win for them.
Massive. And like, it seems like every night, has everyone beat like everybody within the Lake Conference? Like, who's gonna? I guess I could look like who's the favorite to win it? Like, because
I'll
everyone's beat everybody.
pull it up quick here.
Looks like Wayzata is 4-1 within the Lake Conference.
Yeah, it looks like, or somebody said that the Wayzata Eden Prairie game this upcoming week, will decide the Lake Conference. So
Okay.
Wayzata's 4-1 in the conference. Eden Prairie is 3-2, and they're the top 2 teams. And that is they have yet to play, so they play each other. If Eden Prairie wins, they both will be 4-2, but Eden Prairie will own the head-to-head of that tiebreaker and will win the Lake Conference. So,
Got it.
Zeta wins, then it's theirs. So that is a fun kind of end of season storyline for 2 teams that are not in the same section, but to battle it out for a conference title. I know that doesn't really impact playoffs or anything like that, but it is something to strive for every season, especially when you're in a conference like the Lake Conference with quality teams. Winning your conference is something to be proud of. So a fun battle coming up between those 2 teams. Um, I'll talk about Farmington Rosemount last night. Rosemount is, I would say, kind of a rivalry game for Farmington. We always play terrible against Rosemount, or I should say they play great against us, kind of a combination of both. They've kicked our butts the last couple years that I've been there. They are extremely detailed. They have talent. They were they had scouted us well. They brought the energy. They're a team kind of like some of these teams we've talked about where they are much better than their record maybe shows. A lot of people may have looked at a 4-5 team or something and said, "Oh, we're going to run over them." It was not an easy game. Tip of the cap to my Tigers. They found a way to win the game, even though I would say we got outplayed. And so first time ever that Farmington has beat the Rosemount Irish ever. So that was a big milestone for us, and it took every last ounce of effort, plus a couple doorstep saves with 10 seconds left by our goalie to make sure it just was one of those nights. So shout out to the Irish. I think they're a team to kind of watch out for despite their record, but yeah, it was stressful, but it was fun to win. It was a fun game.
Shout out to Coach Mitch, obviously the head coach of Farmington. I saw his post, or maybe it was on his story last night. Sounds like he was really fired up. He's been a Farmington guy from day one. Has been coaching there forever, was a player there, and yeah, first win for the program against Rosemount. So, shout out to Coach Mitch. Sounds like it meant a lot to him, this win specifically, and for the program. So, yeah, congrats to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Bumping down to the game of the week on the boys' side, Duluth versus Hermantown Proctor. Havoc on the Harbor. Duluth with a 15-9 win. Big win for them. They own the Harbor for this year. It looks like it was 9-3 at halftime, Duluth, and then it was 3-3 third and a 3-3 fourth. So a big second quarter by the Wolfpack separated them the rest of the way. Um, nice win for them. Connor Kiergaard, their goalie, had 13 saves on uh and Gabe Polasek, number 11 for the Wolfpack, 7 goals. And number 2, Hayden Clore, 2 goals, 8 assists. So we got 7 and 10 points out of those guys. Wolfpack came to play, and they are the winners of the game of the week. I didn't get to see it, so I don't have anything else to add. This next game here, Orono Armstrong. Orono wins 7-6. I believe Armstrong was up 5-1 at halftime. So defensive adjustments by the Spartans find a way to come back and win that game 7-6. So nice win for Orono. Maple Grove beating St. Thomas Academy 10-7. So Maple Grove back on track there.
It's a good win for Maple Grove. Good win for Maple Grove.
Big win for them. And then I think you kind of talked about your game a little bit. Prior Lake Eastview 12-6 win for the Lakers to stay undefeated. Any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, no, this was I didn't know what to expect from Eastview. They graduated the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who filled the seats of Sam Arndt, absolute stud, amongst others, right? They had a really good senior class last year. So I didn't know, they had a new goalie. It was a completely different looking kind of scout going into this one. Not knowing what to expect. And we get there and it was youth night for Eastview. McNamara, an Eastview legend, was there. So there was an aura in the game, especially early in the game. Eastview was fired up. The stands were buzzing. The kids were chanting. It kind of felt like a playoff game early in this one. So, we had to kind of fight through that early. I think that gave Eastview some juice, to work with early. We had to navigate that. So no, it was a good game though. Obviously a big one, conference wise, section wise. Their goalie played extremely well. I'm not sure what the stats are yet. I haven't dove into that yet, but their goalie was making kick saves, shin saves, diving all over the place. Definitely frustrating a couple of the Lakers. We were putting in good spots and he was just seeing the ball well. Yeah, no, Eastview, Eastview, Apple Valley, the Valley, they've got enough. They could make a couple things interesting come playoff time. Especially if that goalie, comes out and is in one. I have no clue, what they're going to be ranked. I have no clue what the section rankings are kind of projected at this point. But if their goalie, comes out and makes 20 saves against somebody, that they could maybe upset somebody or go further than maybe you would have thought at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. I've watched a little bit of them. I agree with your takes. And we play them on Tuesday next week. So we'll be kind of diving into them this weekend. Looking ahead, again, a lot of fireworks again. Tonight for me, 2 games that stick out. White Bear Lake Irondale, mainly because that's both teams have kind of been hot and cold this year, but have been competitive. And this could have some section implications with seeding. So that should be a fun game. And then Stillwater and Woodbury. Woodbury's kind of been quiet. I feel like they haven't played in a while, but maybe they just haven't played a big game. They their last game, yeah, they played on Wednesday, so an 11-9 win over Mounds View. But Stillwater, different animal, but I think last year Woodbury beat them to win the conference. So conference battle, two teams that know each
Ted's
other.
freezing up. Ted, you're frozen.
Oh, sorry.
Ted's frozen. Maybe I'm frozen.
Can you hear me? Oh, are we back?
Hey, we're back. I don't know how that'll sound or look on the stream. Uh,
Um,
uh, but we're back. We're back, baby.
yeah, sorry about that. Internet must have went out or reset or something. Um, I don't know where it got cut off, but Woodbury, Stillwater, huge game for conference implications. Stillwater coming off that overtime loss. Woodbury just kind of been flying under the radar, but a good team. Um, and yeah, so I think those are the two big games tonight.
Yeah, one more to shout out. Shakopee playing a Wisconsin team. Feel like that's been happening
Yeah,
more than ever this year between Hudson coming over playing like 9 games, and then on the girls' side, they've been playing a couple of the different Wisconsin teams, and it looks like Shakopee's playing a different one. So that's just one to kind of, I don't know, shout out. Cool matchup.
sure, for sure. Um, Saturday, kind of a lighter slate. I think, like we talked about proms and all those kind of things coming up, but Chanhassen Prior Lake, big game. And I'll let you talk about that in a second. But Benilde traveling up to Moorhead, a team that they have played multiple years in the state tournament, and I think Moorhead has come down to Benilde in the regular season the last couple seasons. So, shout out to the Red Knights for getting on the bus, going up to Moorhead to play the Spuds, and putting on the miles. That should be a fun trip for the boys to go up there and play. I think Benilde's probably heavily favored in this game, but as we've seen, the travel up to Moorhead is a different animal. I think we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like you said, Prior Lake playing Chan. A team that I don't know if we played them last year. Yeah, we've been playing them in the regular season. So it's a matchup that we'd love to have on the schedule. They've got a couple of absolute weapons on offense. As the defensive coordinator, that's mostly what I'm paying attention to, kind of going into the game. So we're gonna have to figure out how to, we're probably not going to be able to shut them down completely, but can we slow them down? Can we limit? Can we contain some of their problems that they bring offensively? Southwest Christian 7-1 this year, playing Holy Angels. They're putting together a big record. A program 2 years ago hadn't won a game in 5 years, or maybe they got their first win last year, something like that. Already, winning a bunch of games and kind of like this turnaround within the last couple of years. So, shout out to Southwest Christian. They're playing tomorrow.
Yeah. On to Monday. Nothing too crazy. I guess you could say White Bear Matamidi could go in there, but Matamidi's been weird this year. I don't know what the deal is. I feel like they should be better, but have dropped a few games. But 4-4. And I feel like anytime they play White Bear, it's a tough game and it's a competitive game. So that should be one to watch. And then Maple Grove Centennial,
Yeah,
a suburban matchup. Again, two teams that maybe aren't as strong this year as they were last year, but I would throw the records out the window at this point. Two teams that know each other and play each other a lot. Um, I would expect that to be a spirited game, a competitive game, and a couple high end players in that game on the offensive side of the ball. Ricky Peterson for Maple Grove, Burl Sherman, Logan Adams for Centennial.
I think Maple Grove squeaks this one out. I'm picking Maple Grove in this one.
I think so too. But again, it's at Centennial, so they have home, quote unquote home field advantage. Should be a good game. On to Tuesday. Um, just kind of looking through Wayzata Orono will be interesting. Orono has been sort of another anomaly team where they've looked great and then they've looked not so great. But this is a game where I think I don't know if you'd call it a rivalry because it's Orono's a much smaller school than Wayzata, so I don't think they play each other in like a lot of other sports, but it is kind of like teams that are close to each other, kind of bordering. And so this could be a fun game, an interesting game. Two good defenses in this game.
Chanhassen, Benilde, two teams that obviously we're going to have highlighted on our schedule at the time of this recording. We haven't played either one yet. So I don't have a strong opinion on who's going to beat who. But I think that's going to be that's a big matchup, in this upcoming week.
Yeah. Prior Lake Egan. The Cardiac Cats, always a team that's a pain in the butt to scout and to game plan for because they really do have a unique style that is much different than a lot of high school teams. I'm not to get you looking too far ahead, but any quick thoughts? You only have to play Chan and some of these other teams before you even get to Egan. But any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, I never like the Egan game is always one. It's easy to get up for. It's easy. It's a roller coaster of a game every single time.
Yep.
Egan makes it hard. If you get sucked into how they play, usually doesn't end well for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Hermantown Proctor, the Stealth, although they lost to Duluth this past night for the big rivalry game, they're coming down to play Hopkins St. Louis Park, who's having a nice little season as well. I'll be interested to see how that goes. I know Hermantown Proctor's they're kind of dominating as far as some of the lower end teams on their schedule. They've been kind of dominating, but coming down to the cities to play a team that I think is surprising some people this year with Hopkins St. Louis Park. That should be a fun game. Shakopee Lakeville North. Shakopee was the one team in the regular season last year that actually took North down. And they, they might not be the team they were last year, but they are winners of 4 of their last 5 games. They started 0-4 this season, but they are now 4-5. So I think Shakopee's a different squad now than they were 2 weeks ago.
I think Shakopee's heating up. I
Yeah.
think I think they went through a cold shoe at the blackjack table, and I think they got a new dealer, a fresh cut, and I think Shakopee is building towards the end of the season here, and they're gonna definitely be different than they were in April.
Yep. And North, like I said, they were the one team that kind of gave North fits last year in the regular season. So I'll be interested to see how that one goes. Edina Minnetonka, another late conference battle. I don't even want to predict what happens in a late conference game. Many would have thought this would have been for the late conference title this year. It is not. So funny how things work out. And then Lakeville South, Rosemount, two teams that I have personally just played and scouted and like kind of dove into. I think Rosemount is the better team, but I would not be surprised if South gives them a game. Again, there's just the way things match up. So, that'll be a fun, interesting game in the South Suburban as well.
On to Hump Day, another lighter day, only 10 games.
Yep. I think White Bear Eastridge stands out as a game. I think Eastridge is the better team, but White Bear has been surprising. They have some surprising games where they've looked really good. So that's not an easy game for Eastridge. That should be competitive. I think though the game for me is Stillwater Mounds View. I've been
Okay.
getting not a lot of messages, but some messages that like gotta watch Mounds View that
Yeah, sources have been saying that to us.
I haven't really looked. I mean, they're 5-4, so I don't know. Like they've been crushing some of the weaker teams on their schedule, but haven't really been able to deal with the better teams. So this could be a really interesting game for them to get a statement win. I do expect Stillwater to win, but maybe it's not as easy as they would have maybe expected against an up and coming Mounds View team that's having a decent year.
I think Maple Grove and Matamita is another one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that should be a good game.
Last day, Thursday.
23 games. Man, getting a lot of games late in the year, just like these massive games. I don't know if people just wait until the weather gets nice or whatever, but our big game of the year that we circle, Lakeville North, Farmington. A lot of times we see them twice in a year, so this will be an interesting game. We've talked ad nauseum about North, and it would be a statement win for the Farmington Tigers if we can win this game, but it will be a tall task.
Yeah, Holy South Suburban, Eagan Eastview, Farmington Lakeville North, Rosemount Prior Lake, Lakeville South Shakopee to start the night at 5:30. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4 great matchups.
Yeah. Speaking of just rivalry section conference games, Prior Lake Rosemount, I mean, not really border battles or anything, but two teams that just
long history there.
Long history. Seems like the game's always good. Section implications. So that will be one to watch as well. I know we talk a lot about South Suburban, so I'm trying to find some other games here. Chanhassen Centennial is interesting, mainly just teams that don't normally play each other. It's kind of just a random out of conference, out of section game. So that should be interesting. Hudson playing Hill Murray. So we got another Wisconsin Minnesota battle.
New Prague Hastings.
I missed that one. That should be interesting as well.
We know people, kind of both the coaching staffs and have gotten to know. Yeah, we know both of these programs. So I think that could be a under the radar good matchup, to the public view. They're everyone's circling, the number one and number, top 5 teams. These are a couple up and coming programs that I think are going to have a good one next Thursday night.
Yep. St. Cloud coming down to play St. Thomas Academy. That's a new matchup that I haven't seen the last few years. So that nice.
Great logo.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Buffalo STMA. That's got to be a rivalry game.
Yep, that is a rivalry game. So that's a nice game. Eden Prairie Wayzata. We talked about it. That's for the late conference Thursday night. That's probably the game of the week, in my opinion, as we've gone through this. And then one other one, Big 9 matchup, Owatonna Northfield.
Yeah,
that was a tough battle. Last week, I think they played. They play each other twice.
I was gonna say, didn't they just play each other?
Yeah, Big 9. They each get a home game, so they do a double round robin.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Physical, gritty battle between both teams a week ago.
They get to run it back.
I always love watching these two teams play each other because it's not really like a border battle necessarily, but two teams that have been playing each other multiple times a year for years. It's usually a pretty competitive game. So that one will be interesting. I think that wraps it up. There was a lot to talk about today. A lot of big games coming up. Kind of feels like playoffs already. It's not playoffs yet.
We're not even like close to playoffs. We're wrapping up a 3-game week this week. We got 3 games next week. We got 2 games the following. I'm like, I feel like I've started a marathon, and I'm not even anywhere near even the middle of it. It's going to be a couple crazy weeks coming up, for me and the Lakers.
We have 2.5 weeks left of the regular season. When you'd think like 2.5 weeks left, things are locked up.
No,
what's going on? It is mayhem right now. Boys and girls, tons of games still need to be played. And so It looks like weather's starting to get a little nicer, starting to get a little warmer. Make sure
Distractions.
distractions are coming up. So, overall, thank you to DTA Nation. Thanks for engaging with us. Thank you to Old Southern Barbecue for sponsoring the podcast. There's the sauce if you're watching on YouTube.
Yep. Speaking of Old Southern Barbecue, well, when I went up and got my new hat from the Jacks, shout out the Jacks. They're a part of DTA Nation. The big man sent me a bottle. It's a cool looking bottle. It looks different than kind of their other barbecue sauces, which are all great. I'm working through like the last one he gave me. The big man. Big man sent us their new one. Jimmy's Original. You've heard Ted talk about his scouting report. Check out the Instagram this Sunday. I'm gonna do a review of this when I crack this open with some pulled pork, and we're gonna give this thing a run. We're gonna give this thing a run.
Go out, support your favorite teams, catch a rivalry game, go out and watch a conference title be won by somebody at some point. And here we go. Another crazy week coming up, and good luck to all the teams, and we'll catch you next week.
Adios.